Hello, ladies and gents. Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, and today we're talking about Week 5 into the Contest Prep 2020 series. So let's rewind a little bit. This is Week 5. I've recorded some footage here from the beginning of this week, so Monday, which was December 2nd, and I want to dive into a few different areas here. First of all, I want to talk about progress pictures, weight, measurement, stuff like that. So before I dive too deep into this dialogue here, I'm just going to bring up that footage and show you my latest measurements, progress pictures, etc., etc. So hold tight. Let's dive into that right now. All right, so I first want to talk about blood testing during a contest prep. You certainly don't have to. It's not necessary by any means, but I like to do it just kind of to see how my body responds as I'm manipulating the calories and macros. So I'm at 96 first thing upon waking with the blood glucose, a lot higher than I would like it. 1.7 on the ketones, so at least I'm having a high number there to kind of offset the higher blood glucose. We do a Caliper Test, and I'm all about doing Caliper Test because I think it's a great way to check on a regular basis. I'm doing a Caliper Test every 2 weeks, so I'm really glad that I'm doing that to kind of track things. And my Caliper Test has been consistently showing a drop in body fat. We also take measurements every 2 weeks, and this is just to kind of ensure that I'm losing girth in the right places and minimizing loss of girth in other places that I don't want to lose it, such as bicep peaks and stuff like that. So we got some posing footage here. This is, again, the beginning of the 5th week. So I can tell based off of these, like I always recommend taking progress pictures every 2 weeks. Basically, every stats I recommend every 2 weeks. So from these video clips and these pictures that I'm taking, I can see, independent of the scale weight, where things are changing. And comparing this to the first week's footage, I can tell that I've lost body fat. My waist is shrunk up a little bit. I'm a little tighter. There's more separation in my biceps and triceps, especially with like a front pose. I've got more graininess and more striations in the shoulder caps there as I'm hitting these side chest and side tricep poses. My hamstrings are a little bit more defined than they were. My back is looking a little bit more defined than it was. I'm still holding fat around my midsection and my waist and my lower back, but much less so than I was at the onset. And basically when I'm doing this, I'm just looking for more lines and definition that I didn't have before. So I'm seeing more lines in my hamstrings specifically, but also in my quads, in my triceps and whatnot. So you may notice a pretty significant change independent of the scale. So having pictures, having video footage to look back on and compare to is absolutely paramount and key. I think the camera was a little bit out of focus here, so I'll try and fix that up for the next time I document this. Speaking of things changing independent of a drop in the scale weight, I really want to take this opportunity to point out what my weight has been doing. So as you can see, I started at 177, and I dropped a lot there. Not a lot, but I dropped a little bit there initially, the first couple weeks. But then as you can see, it's kind of leveled out these past few weeks. I've had some peaks and valleys, but there hasn't been just a drastic downward shift in my weight. That last spike was because I didn't get very good sleep, and I woke up like a pound heavier the next morning, which is obviously frustrating when you're trying to prep. But this is just life. Like, this happens. So this is why it's so key to document things besides just the scale weight alone, because a lot's changed independent of that scale weight. All right, so now that you've kind of seen those updated pictures and measurements and whatnot, I want to talk about the mindset that comes with being about a month into a contest prep. So like the first few weeks, you're going to experience a drop in water weight, and you're just going to kind of tighten up a little bit simply because you're not having this just massive variation in your day-to-day caloric intake and meals. If you're doing a contest prep like I recommend, and you're meal prepping the majority of your foods, and you take out a lot of that variability, your body's going to be pretty consistent in how it looks and responds on a day-to-day basis. And you're going to have that initial drop in weight like I illustrated with that picture, but then you're going to start to see things level out a little bit. And because you're not having those high calorie days, you'll oftentimes notice that you don't feel as full. Like, you start to look a bit flatter. When you're in a pretty significant caloric surplus, or even in a maintenance, your body starts to fill out. You'll have days where you're eating more sodium, so you get like a really good pump. You'll have a little bit more vascularity, and you've got more body fat, so you just feel bigger. You feel more powerful. You are bigger and you are more powerful, and you can start to see that shift about a month in. It's gonna be a little bit different for everybody, but about a month in, and you'll lose that sheer just size and like full feeling, and you start to feel flat. And it's funny because this is the point where everybody's like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. I feel flat. I need to introduce a bunch of carbs to fill out. I need to do something crazy with my pre-workout or my intra-workout, or something's just not right. But that oftentimes isn't the case at all. What I've found is when you're doing a contest prep, you kind of have to go through phases. And I like to think of this as you have this full phase where like you're still in a caloric maintenance or surplus. You know, the lifts are easy, you feel strong, you feel powerful, and things are just chugging right along. And then you start to titrate those macros down, and you start to feel a little bit more flat. You start to look a little bit more flat, more defined, but more flat. So you have this full to flat phase, which is kind of where I'm at the beginning of now. And there'll be days, like if I spike my sodium or something's a little bit different, I'll have days where I just get a really good pump and I feel more full than average. But I'm kind of entering that flat phase where on average, I'm going to look and feel a bit more flat. However, this is the phase you have to get through to get to the next phase, which is like the freaky phase. So you got full to flat to freakish. And you can't get to that freaky stage if you don't go through a flatter period of time. And I just encourage you to like know that this is a moment in time. It is just a phase. You'll get to the next thing. You can manipulate things in the day-to-day, such as your electrolytes, to help fill out. But you can't just go and reach for a bunch of carbs, and you can't just go and reach for a bunch more food to kind of like bypass. You will bypass it, but you won't reach the end goal of just getting more shredded. So know that going into it. Have the mindset and the approach mentally that there's going to be this period that's going to give you the foundation needed to make it through that period. So that's kind of what I got for an update for you on week 5. Week 6, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go over all my supplementation next week, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, keep on chugging along, and I'll see you next time.